Woodford Reserve has dropped its 21st release in its Masters collection. With a name called Sweet Oak Bourbon, it's gotta be good, right? Let's find out. How are y'all doing today? My name's Chris. Welcome back to Bourbinsane. Woodford Reserve has been known to push boundaries with their Masters Collection releases over the years. They've had things like their Double Double O, Chocolate Malted Rye, and of course the Barrel Proof, one of the most common ones I'll actually see on the shelf around here. But with these boundaries they push, they experiment with things, like your mash bills, finishes, lots of different finishes, and then of course barrels and type of barrels they will use. Today we've got Sweet Oak Bourbon from their Masters Collection release. This is the 21st release they've done, and what they do is they actually age this whiskey in what's called chinkapin wood, or chinkapin barrels. So what is that? It's actually a type of white oak, just like you'll use with your normal barrels. Grows in the Midwest, right around where Kentucky is, so where the distillery is. But the difference between the chinkapin barrels and regular American white oak is that the grain structure is actually a little more open. So if you think about that compared to just your normal barrel, you're going to get more interaction with the whiskey itself and the wood. So theoretically, it should impart a different flavor profile, different flavor tannins, that kind of stuff. We're going to see if that holds true. No information was given about this release as far as age goes or how long it was in the barrel. Theoretically, it shouldn't have to be as long because you're going to get a lot more contact with the wood given that open grain structure. We're going to see. I would assume also that the flavor profile is going to be different just from your traditional American white oak aging. You know, I think it's probably going to be, I've never had a chinkapin finished wood whiskey, I don't think, before, ever. So I'll be excited to try this, see how it is, and find out some different flavors we're going to get from typical release. This is bottled at 110.4 proof, which is great about the Masters Collection. A lot of those are higher proof than just their distillery series or some of their base expressions. So I'm always excited about a high proof bourbon. And like I said, with a name like Sweet Oak, man, that's got to be good. Let's go into color here, and holy cow, this is extremely dark. Extremely dark. I mean, that wood to wood contact is definitely coming through in the color on this. In this bottle here next to me, it looks almost black. Like, that's crazy. I'm not sure how the light shows to you. And the glass looks a little bit lighter, but this is an absolute... this is darker than like the 1910, which I think has a very dark color, Brown-Forman color coming through. Decent legs sticking to the glass, really. That gives me good hope on this. And I'm just excited to try a different type of wood. I love these type of experiments that these distilleries do. And so many different things you can open your eyes to, or flavors you've never had before. And I'm just excited for that. Being a whiskey nerd, whiskey connoisseur. So let's go into it here. All right. Okay, initial nose, it's clearly a Brown-Forman product, whether that be Woodford Reserve or something else. It's got that classic profile. I am actually getting a little bit of oak tannin coming through. Not as much of the smooth tannin, but more of that bitter tannin on initial nose. This may benefit from having a little time to open up, so I'll have to revisit this later to see. It has got a very, I'll say, earthy nose. It's like a lot of earthiness coming through to me. Maybe that's part of the barrel, It's almost like I think of like an almost herbal note, like maybe an herbal tea note. I'm still getting that Woodford chocolate banana that's there, but it's very subtle in this. It kind of takes a back seat to that earthiness. Almost a little nuttiness coming through on this too on the nose. It's almost like a shelled walnut, I'm thinking. And it does have a nice, I'll say, rich vanilla caramel and vanilla caramel frosting, whipped cream type consistency on the nose. That bitterness on the initial nose was there, but it's getting better as this has had time to open up too. So, all right, let's give it a taste here. Cheers. Interesting. That earthiness I described, like that tea type note is definitely still there on the palate. Still coming through, getting that a lot. Definitely a lot of dark fruit coming through on that first sip too. I'm thinking like plums and raisins, all your stone fruits. Dried out, fruits that have been dried out. Definitely no fresh fruit. Maybe that's because of the age or that the deeper contact with the wood. There's definitely that darker fruit profile coming through. It definitely does have that sweet oak profile on the palate for sure. Thank goodness this is at 110 proof. If it was aged in lower proof, I don't think I'd be a fan of this whiskey at all. That 110 though does give you a nice mouthfeel, nice finish, nice coating. Not much rye spice at all though. It's very... I mean, the sweet oak honestly isn't overpowering my palate like I thought it was going to. When I think sweet oak myself, I think hyper-aged, super-aged bourbons. Which that obviously isn't this. Like, I understand that. This is not a hyper-aged bourbon. This is just an experimental type of wood they're using for their bourbon. By color, theoretically, it should be the equivalent, in my brain at least, to like a 20-year-old bourbon. Definitely doesn't taste like a 20-year-old bourbon. Unless it's a 20-year-old bourbon that's turned, and it's become bitter oak versus the sweet, creamy, delicious oak. It's definitely there. I mean, it's definitely that sweet creaminess absolutely is on the front of the palate for me. Like, I get a whole bunch of that, but as it washes over the mid to back palate, that's when I get a little bit of astringency, a little bit of bitter oak, and the barrel tannins kind of take over on the back of the palate. Got a lot of fruit on that initial sip I mentioned. The fruitiness is now taking a back seat to that oak. And I appreciate that about whiskeys like this. You know, something like this that you're going to pay $180 for a 700 ml bottle, it better take you on a journey. Like, it damn well better take you on a whole journey from start to finish. So far, just in this one Glen I've had, it's doing that. I mean, initial nose was different than second and third nose. For the palate, I got a bunch of fruitiness, took over a little bit towards the oak, and then now it's been all oak on the third sip. Let's give it one more sip here. It's good. It's good. I'll tell you what, it's a good whiskey. To me, this is not a $180 whiskey, though. This is probably around, I'd say, $100 whiskey. I'm no master distiller, you know. I'm no master blender. I'm just someone on YouTube who does this and loves doing what I'm doing. But sweet oak, I'm not sure is the exact right word for this bourbon. If you're talking just initial palate versus full experience, you can call it sweet oak. This should be maybe a part of like a subcategory of like an experimental oak series or something. And I love it, like as I mentioned, I love what they're doing, pushing boundaries, doing this. And I think it's awesome they're doing it. You know, they're different types of wood. Me being a whiskey nerd, I want to see that. I want to try every type of barrel finish thing, every type of barrel experimented thing I can. I mean, I want that. I don't want to pay $180 for it is the problem. Thank goodness. I'm very grateful I got to sample this from Woodford Reserve. And as mentioned, I'm going to be honest and transparent in my review. I would prefer a couple things I've actually tried from their distillery series. The tawny port finish I actually really enjoyed. Extremely desserty bourbon there. And even their malt. You know, their 12-year malt I thought was very, very good. Completely different than this, obviously, but this, if you're someone who is a whiskey nerd and you want to be taken on a journey on your whiskey, you want a whiskey that's going to challenge you, you should get this. You should. And if money's no object for you and you just want to nerd out like me, then it's worth getting a bottle, you know, because you're not going to be disappointed by it. You're not. It's a good whiskey. It's a good bourbon. But at $180, you can probably find something maybe aged more that may agree with your palate a little more. All right, well, thank you guys so much for watching the review today. I hope you enjoyed this. I love doing these reviews, getting samples to try, really growing my palate, expanding my palate and flavor profiles with things I haven't had before. I mean, that's just amazing and gives me something to reference later on. So let me know, what is your favorite Masters Collection release? Do you guys seek these things out? Do you have a favorite? Mine was probably the double oaked, but I did actually enjoy the chocolate malted rye. I know I got a lot of hate back in the day when that came out, but if you're a malt fan, it's some good stuff. So thank you all for being here today. If you haven't yet, check out my website, bourbinsane.com. Got a lot of articles, news, and reviews, and there's always something for everyone over there. So give that a check out. Appreciate you being here. Stay insane.